Welcome back to our Purgatory Exorcised. Vor's fixed his lag. Well done, Vor.
Yeah, well done.
Technical genius extraordinaire. And, well, we were just talking about the battlesuit then. I'm going to move on to the quad in a second, but just one more sort of point about this is this choke point here, Vor.
Yeah, this is kind of the midway point between the two power-ups, and often is a good place to fight, especially if you are the suit. Quad is going to be very reluctant to push around this doorway if he's chosen to come this route. After we've said as well, the teleport is another route the quad might take, but if the quad is coming this way, you'll often find that reluctant to push around, and so it's kind of stuck here. Some players they kind of tend to hesitate, whereas maybe would be a better decision to back off towards the red. They'll actually get it stuck in their mind that they have to go head to head with the suit that might be round here. And so this is a very good position for the suit to just sit sometimes and wait to see what the quad is going to decide to do. Because if they choose to push on you in this position, the advantage is probably 9 out of 10 in your favour.
I mean, architecturally, it kind of seems like the divide between the half of the map, and it is roughly the halfway point between the two. So the battlesuit, if they're picked up at the same time, which often the power-ups are, and people keep them at the same time throughout the map, the quad and the battlesuit moving to this midfield are gonna roughly arrive at the same time.
Having said that, though, the battlesuit should get to this point first,
Yeah.
if they're at the same time.
They should. The only problem is, as soon as the battlesuit goes through this doorway, they're at a disadvantage to a quad that might have an LG. So that's the sort of risk you're taking. If you're going to push through this doorway, you're
If you're
into an
pushing,
open area.
you're kind of hoping, aren't you, if you push through to this point, to catch them here, rather than you come round and they are already waiting for you, say, here.
Yeah. And if you just say got a rocket, you're going to have to hit a spectacular direct rocket. Otherwise, you're going to be straight back through that door where the LG lock they're going to get on you.
So the routes you take should be pretty much dictated by your weapons. You know, if you have rail, a lightning gun, rocket, etc., if you have all of them in the same time, you can look to go aggressive towards the quad, but if you only had a rocket, then you'd probably be more cautious and just check to see if he's round here first. And if you catch them waiting around here and get the first shot in, then you've probably won the fight. But if they're taking up a position with a lightning gun, say here, and you come round, then the fight might not go your way, and you might actually have to be the one who backs off.
Yeah, so that's the key area in the map where the two power-ups often meet. Now, it's not really a tactic to say you should do that or you shouldn't do that.
It's just something that often happens.
Yeah, there's so many choices on this map because it's so free-flowing. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong with any of it, but obviously objectives with the battlesuit would be to win over the red armor, to get a time on the mega. But as you can't lock down an area so much with the battlesuit, it's definitely to seek out and destroy that quad before he picks up too many frags, because this is such a free-for-all kind of map. He could pick up a hell of a lot of frags if he gets lucky spawns as well, and just run around the map. So seek and destroy the quad is definitely a primary objective of the battlesuit on this one, if not on every map that you have a battlesuit.
Yeah.
So I guess that leads us to the quad area, Vor. And we can already see, looking at it, just how much more open it is, and what a danger it is to stand at the quad and just picking it up. I mean, let's look at the entrances into the room. You've got the lower entrance, and then straight above it, you've got that gap in the wall to the left, and up there to the left of that as well, another raised entrance. So 3 of the entrances to the room are already above you. And so you've got more threat from weapons like grenades or rockets, especially rockets if it's above you. Never mind all the other weapons that just are equally advantaged. And then you've got that lower route. It's not necessarily as much of a threat, but it brings them up to roughly an equal level with you. And it can almost be a surprise. People can't bounce pads, I guess. But either way, 4 entrances in, that's pretty hard to cover.
Yeah, and you can see if you were actually standing right in the quad, which is not necessarily a good idea, but depending on the weapons you have, and unless you have rail, you don't have much chance to really counter any damage. I mean, you can't fire rockets in that direction and expect to hit, and the same goes for this bit here. You can fire rockets into there if there's someone there spamming you, but you know, if you think about the weapons you have, again, plasma might be good at that, but pretty much dodgeable in any other direction you shoot. It's only really rail that's going to give you any chance to defend yourself if you're actually stood in this position, so you have to really think about where you're going to stand to pick quad up. Got to be really dependent on your weapon.
On top of that, there's a couple of spawns in this room that often you'll find that teams do prioritise battlesuit because, as we talked about, you can lock it down. But once they've died, they'll spawn the quad end. So if you're trying to get quad and battlesuit, and you've killed them at battlesuit, and you've left one guy trying to get quad, he's probably going to be overrun by just spawners alone, never mind all these open positions. But let's talk about how you might defend the area then, Vor.
Yeah, I mean, similarly to defending the suit, you kind of want to stop them getting into quad, so typically you'd want someone in this position here, because if you're here, you can counter anyone looking to come around this corner. You know, maybe your team has realised you're not putting enough pressure on the suit, so they send people from the suit, and of course this is a direction they're going to come from, so being ready to counter anyone coming around that corner, that's important. And it's the same at the other end as well. Defending this bounce pad position here is extremely important. Again, if they feeling no pressure at suit, they'll quickly come this direction and look to get some shots down into your quad area. So if you just defend the two ends either side, then that's a good start. And of course there is a threat from spawners, but it's not huge, and again this bounce pad is not a huge threat either. You're coming up this, you should be dealt with fairly quickly.
Yeah, so I mean, like controlling the red or like controlling the battlesuit, you want to meet at the choke points and just reduce the amount of room they have to aim shots at the quad. If you push out as far as they can so they can't even see quad, to the furthest point where the entrance point to the area would be, then you've got a lot more chance of defending it. So if you split that 2 and 2, then where else would you place the players? You've got one needs to be by the quad, obviously. You might put 2 people in this lower floor area to watch out for the spawners, to watch that lower entrance, or you might just keep one person in the lower floor area, and then one person, I would suggest, is on that bridge more to back up the guy up at that point to the right side of it. So yeah, up here, because the guy this side is probably going to be under the most duress.
Yeah, because this is the hardest position to defend against if people come flooding through here, whereas at least if you're this end, you're defending a bounce pad, which is generally quite easy, depending on weapons you have, but you know, even if you let them come up and rocket them, or if you have a lightning gun to deal with them, you'll immediately kill anyone who comes up there. Whereas this one, there's a chance they can break through at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if they're desperate to get in, they're going to just overrun you there, so it's always good to have maybe the second player here around this 50 and the shards, so that he can back up that guy. He can also keep an eye over across the other side of the map, the high point, and he can just drop down and help secure the other guy at quad if somebody came up the bounce pad, if you got spawned on, etc. So that's probably the setup you'd go for here. And then with the quad, the kind of routes you're looking at.
Well, if we look at how you might try and shoot into the quad before we do that.
Right, good point.
Right, so if you've pushed in, obviously, and dealt with anyone defending quad, then this is a great position. Obviously, with multiple guns, I mean, even lightning gun, rail, rocket, plasma, even, you can spam the pickup point. Even if you don't pick up a kill, it's a lot of damage.
Grenade launcher is right behind you.
Right behind you.
It's a great point to spam grenades into.
That's dangerous, but this area as well is very dangerous because it's kind of harder to return damage onto them. The nades again are a threat. Rockets, rail. And you can have more than one person doing it from this side as well because there's multiple points to stand and spam, so again, dangerous this side.
Dropping down into this sort of area as well is a great place to suddenly drop down on and just surprise them. Especially if it's coming right up to quad, you might want to drop down there and then push with an LG.
And this I don't see utilised because it's quite difficult, but you know, potentially you could shoot from here as well.
Yeah, it's a really clever spot actually.
But yeah, in terms of where to go once you actually have the quad itself, I mean, you've got choices. You've got three choices basically. You can go out towards rail by coming up this way, and this would be an often unexpected way to go. We typically don't see many quads go this way, so maybe the suit has already come round looking to get towards quad. I mean, you could pick up, some kills in this area if their teammates haven't stuck with the battle suit. It's always good to try and farm some easy kills, because the battle suit, going head to head, that's not always a easy fight. So if you can look to go around a way that's unexpected and then pick up kills behind the battle suit, be a good choice. We typically see if there's anyone's got the time on Mega, quad will come straight to the Mega, and then has a choice of either going up the stairs to red, or through the teleporter to again potentially get behind the suit and look to kill his teammates and surprise him. And then the last route is out high, where, as we've said, you can expect to get to this point and then have to think about what you're going to do, because the suit could be round here in this yellow area. You can wait here and see what happens, or then you can go to the red as well.
There's just so many options that there's not necessarily a right or a wrong one. It depends on the kind of stack and the weapons you've got. It depends on what you know about them when the item is picked up. The battle suit. If the battle suit's picked up before the quad, then you've got to take it as it could be a little bit risky. Maybe 3 seconds, so they don't have time to get there, but they're going to be in a dangerous position if you come up this route. They might be lining up that rail we talked about. So you don't want to take the bounce pad. You also maybe don't want to go the lower route to Mega, because they might be above the Mega if it's been like 3 or 4 seconds. So
yeah, like playing yesterday, I was stood above and I managed to get 2 shots onto a quad and weaken it severely, even though it got that Mega. So that's something you have to really worry about as the quad if the battle suit is just a few seconds ahead of your quad pickup.
Yeah, the closest thing to a right and a wrong thing to do is if it's a few seconds ahead battle suit, you probably want to take the route through the broken wall up towards the railgun kind of position. Then you can take the upper corridor to the red, or you can go to the rail. You've got a couple of options there, but the battle suit won't have been able to get over here probably in as quick a time as he will the other side. So that's probably the closest thing to a right and a wrong way to go. But either way, it totally depends on what your team's telling you about your opponent's position, what the battlesuit has as stack or weapons, and
what they've been doing throughout the game. I mean, you've got the first half of the game generally to try and get an idea of how your opponent are playing, and then maybe they do the same thing every time with suit. Maybe it always comes this way, so you're not going to get caught out by it, other than maybe once in the game. But if they're doing the same thing over and over, you should be able to start predicting them and realise what's going on.
And then I guess again, objectives with quad are going to be looking at getting frags and moving in on that red, clearing it out, and maybe getting a time on Mega, I'm not really sure, but you probably go for red and rail. They're probably the 2 major things you go for, because red also includes lightning gun, so then it's the 2 major weapons for getting frags and doing damage unreturned that you want to cover. So with both power-ups, they're the same kind of objectives, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, quad, you have to decide, do you look to go head-to-head with the suit, which is often risky and some would argue is slightly in the suit's favour most of the time, or do you look to try and get past the suit or round a different way to the suit and then look to kill his teammates? Because quad, that's what quad excels at, is killing people, and suit. Suit is not quite so effective. People can just run away from the suit, whereas quad, you can be seen and be dead before you can do anything. But maybe you just avoid the suit and go for kills. You have to decide at the time which is the best choice. Yeah,
so I think that's pretty much everything, is it, Vor? Have we missed anything?
It is about it. Just at the end here, may as well just point out, I did do it earlier in the video, but this position here, you can do a silent drop down, which can often take people by surprise at the rail, rather than just dropping down and making noise. Just do it slowly. You can drop down silently.
Same with all the bounce pads on this map. If you just drop on the edge of it, but that one's a especially good one because you can ambush people at that railgun spot.
I did do it first time earlier. I probably won't be able to do it properly now. And you have to bounce your head, then jump up, but I'm failing, aren't I?
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, Vor, actually.
There you go, eventually. Not saying I often do this, to be fair.
Well, maybe you should do it more often.
Got to practice it, haven't I? But yeah, it's a quick way to get up there if you can not fail it like I did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different angles, shots that we could probably show off, and different little jumps and stuff, but we probably don't want to go into too much detail in this video because the videos would just last forever. So that's kind of an overview of the map, the kind of strategies you might play out, I guess. Oh, actually, we didn't really talk about coordinated attacks onto areas, but it's only really the red.
Well, I think you could just say, I mean, again, this map often plays out so differently depending on how teams are playing, but just one effective strategy that can work in most situations is you move your team, I mean, even in groups of 3 or even potentially 4, just try and get a cycle going on the lightning gun red, and you move and attack the rail as a team. Yeah, it can be your whole team or 2 or 3 people, but that's a good cycle to get going, and if you can make that work, and not just as simply as going between the two, this same route every time, but making use of this upper corridor as well. Just go between red and rail as a team, and that will put you in good stead.
Yeah, that's a good strategy we see from some
and
teams.
If you've got a very strong player, then you could leave them to try and play the mega solo, but red and rail, you can make that work, then you're going to be doing well.
Right, so I think that's everything then, Vor. Until we do another map guide, I guess that's it for Purgatory Exorcised. Thanks for joining us. If you watch live or now if you watch the VOD, remember to make any comments you have about these videos in the YouTube channel, or indeed on our website. And remember to do all those things I told you about at the start of the video, which is follow us on Twitter at LevelUpTV, like us on Facebook /LevelUpTV, subscribe to us on YouTube, our videos channel, which is /LevelUpTV. On Twitch, follow us on there /LevelUpTV, and obviously visit our website levelupyourgame.net. Oh, and if you've got IRC, yeah, you're from the 90s, then #LevelUpTV on QuakeNet. You can come chat to us there. Otherwise, I think that's everything. I love all these long lists of different ways that people can contact us, etc. Really exciting stuff, isn't it, Vor?
Yeah, feel free on IRC. We're around most of the time because we're losers.
No, we're mad cool. Yep, so thanks for joining us and goodbye.